Welcome back. The organization Street Lab creates interactive outdoor programs transforming public spaces throughout New York City. Their overall goal is to enhance the urban environment, build strong communities, and unite the people of NYC. Co-founder and executive director Leslie Davol and project manager Jim Lammers joins me to discuss the organization and their most recent effort to cool down our city. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Now, can you reintroduce our viewers to Street Lab and its overall mission?
Sure. Street Lab is a nonprofit that creates and shares programs for public space across New York City. Programs that make a place for learning, play, creativity, and more. We do the work, I think, as you said, to strengthen neighborhoods and to bring communities together. It's about a vision of the city where everyone has places to gather and ways to connect right in the heart of neighborhoods, sometimes right outside their front door. And we use a pop-up approach to make that happen. We pop up with our programs over 400 times each year across the city in all kinds of neighborhoods. Everywhere we go is by request. We're always partnering on the ground with community groups that are there, that are long-term efforts to make neighborhoods better. 81% of our work is in underserved, low-income areas. And we also make kits for other cities to kind of share what we do in other places.
And we're definitely going to learn a little bit more about those kits because I think that's pretty amazing. But I'd really love to learn, how does Street Lab provide a safe space for children in the Bronx?
This is something we're really focused on right now. And the answer is school streets is one of the ways to do it. School streets are, in the city's terms, open streets next to schools. Those are streets that are closed temporarily to cars to make space for play, for safe drop-off and pickup, for learning. And we're doing a lot of this right now. We're focused on working with schools in the Bronx. And we've long worked with communities to create play streets that everybody knows, from New York's history, that have long been a tradition. And the school streets are really just an extension of that to open up the possibilities of how we can use our streets. And we see a lot of opportunity in them to transform the city.
Yeah, and to do this work, we're meeting partners where they're at, directly addressing the needs of each partner and catering the program specifically to each location. And then what follows is an intensive process that ensures that both the success of the street when it's first initially activated, but that, it also has legs to last for years to come. And in this process, we're helping with things like site visits, doing outreach and engagement, all of this aiming to build a relationship directly with the partner and the surrounding community that is served, so that Street Lab is deeply embedded in these locations. And then the result is a transformed street, a new space that brings both immediate benefits to the community while also, showcasing the potential for long-term change. And, Street Lab, these school streets, they create these beautiful moments, where a parent and caretakers after school are able to have a conversation while they wait for their student. You might see a teacher running through an obstacle course with their student, and then neighbors are able to feel invited to a safe space and come out onto their steps, onto the street, and be a part of something beautiful. And then for kids specifically, a chance to play safely with their friends, while as an alternative, find a moment of solace and grab a book and settle up and breathe in the fresh air on the street outside their school.
Yeah, I think this is so amazing. I probably said this before, but the fact that it's just using the world around us, you don't have to wait years for something to be built. This is just, right on the ground. And we see that New Yorkers are very resourceful and will find a way to kind of have fun wherever we are. So I think that's amazing. I really love to know, how long has Street Lab been in the Bronx and how has it evolved?
I think last time I was here, Kibin, I said we were approaching our 200th pop-up in the Bronx. We're now approaching our 310th pop-up in the Bronx. Our work has been increasing, with this effort that we're doing now in the Bronx. But we've long worked at places like Roberto Clemente Plaza, Fordham Plaza, St. Mary's Park. We've worked with community groups there to activate those spaces and bring new resources and programming. Now we've got these new open streets. Some of them, just for example, are Mount Hope Place with PS 28, Goebel Ave with CMSP 327, and then neighborhood streets also as well that are with neighborhood groups like Decatur Ave, which I think is not too far from here, Evelyn Place, and Grand Avenue in the Bronx. So we've been going back to some of these locations year after year and have been with some of them for 10 years. One example of that is, a favorite of ours, Jennings Street, that's in Morrisania, where, 10 years ago, that was a play street run by Lonnie Hardy of Caldwell Enrichment Program. She's still going strong today. We've seen that street evolve, where she's been plugged into the city programs and getting more resources and support. She has SYEP youth every summer who help run that street. We've been going there every year. Last summer, we had a beautiful moment with her where we were able to bring out the New York Yankees. The players came and played with the kids, and they had a great time. They said it was old school. And so 37% of our work right now is in the Bronx, and it is a priority for us right now, and it's where we're finding some of our most meaningful, high impact sort of partnerships.
Well, I definitely want to explore something new that you've launched for this summer, and that is called OASIS. As we all know, in New York City, it's been very, very hot. So can you talk about OASIS and just the idea, behind that, where it came from, and why it's needed?
Yeah, well, today is a case in point, right? So it is crisis time. And, the heat keeps people indoors, and the heat can affect their physical health, but also their mental health and their sense of well-being and how much they feel connected to their neighbors. So, when we sit on a street, we see our neighbors, that's where we feel good sometimes, right? That's where we get that sense of connection. So the idea behind it was really we're experiencing it. It's hotter, it's harder to be out there and do this work with communities. But the idea was really to cool people down. How can we make a solution for cooling people down? There are cooling centers, you have emergency kind of measures, but how can we provide a social space where people can stay cool? So the idea is with a little, sort of the things that we know cool people down: shade, water, plants, and trees. They do a big part of the work. And the Bronx has less of that. The Bronx has less tree cover and has some of the highest heat index sort of on the heat vulnerability scale. So we've got this program that plugs into a hydrant. Jim can explain a little more how it works, but we're taking that around. We're very excited about it.
Yeah. So it's essentially what you can expect on the street is a winding blue river that, as Leslie mentioned, hooks up to the hydrant and then sprays a light mist into the air. This is paired with shade and seating elements, as well as our portable landscape, which is these carts that have plants and add a touch of greenery to sometimes harsh urban streetscape. What we're also doing with this program is pairing it with our Imagine community engagement toolkit, which allows us to kind of speak with New Yorkers and hear from them about the heat and their experiences with heat in an increasingly warmer city. But with all of this, the idea is that you turn a corner onto a new street on a hot summer day and see this bright, beautiful oasis that kind of invites people in to want to come in and cool off with their neighbors.
And I think this is so important, just hearing what you said about how the Bronx doesn't have, enough greenery, and how that also makes things hotter. And then when you stay inside, you're using more electricity, which you're building. It's a cycle.
Right.
And I think it's so amazing that not only is, Street Lab providing, something fun, but it's kind of attacking some of those or combating some of those unfortunate realities that a lot of lower income people have to face, especially, during the summer. So I think that's pretty amazing. Now, I also learned that this program will be extended to those in senior centers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I know that you primarily work with children.
Sure, definitely. Well, all of our programs, we aim to design them to be for all ages and be able to bring generations together. But OASIS specifically, it kind of started with this long-standing tradition in New York of opening up the hydrants and, spraying water in the street on a hot summer day, which is we love. We think it's so great. But what we heard from a lot of people, specifically older folks, is sometimes you don't want to get soaking wet out in the street, and you can get absolutely drenched that way. And so what we wanted to create was kind of a more approachable opportunity for folks to come out in the street and cool off and still gather with their neighbors. To do this, we actually have a little bit of support from AARP to actually prioritize senior center locations. Just last week on Decatur Ave, we were working with some seniors who actually helped us plant some of those portable landscapes that I spoke about, and put the plants in that we can take those carts to other locations and neighborhoods across the city, which is pretty cool.
Well, this is an amazing program, and I'm so glad I got the chance to learn a little bit more about it. Can you tell us about the kits that were created to kind of help other people kind of expand this, within their own communities, maybe around New York or just, around our country?
Yeah, well, it started kind of organically when we first started this work. We looked around for furniture and gear that would help us create an environment for learning, for reading, for play, for cooling off. And we found that we needed to make it ourselves. So we actually have a designer, and we have long made, we made furniture that kind of supports our work, that can be put together and taken down really quickly, that can look beautiful, but that also works, right, and is lightweight. So when we first started this work, we had our own kits, and libraries from around the world started to contact us saying, we want to do this. We want to have a portable reading room. We want to set up, because it started with the work started with a portable reading room. And then it's grown from there. And so we've expanded the kind of programs we have, the kind of gear and designs that we use, and groups have contacted us every year, saying, I want to do this in San Francisco, I want to do this in Rhode Island, I want to do this in Australia, and so, we think it can work anywhere, and with the right tools and someone who's willing to, again, be physical and move stuff and get it on the ground and keep deploying it. We think it can work anywhere, and we're so excited to see the work, happen somewhere else. The work we're doing in the Bronx is happening in another city, and that's how we keep that going.
Now, I think this is amazing, and there's an opportunity to, it just touches on so many things that are affecting, the communities, in New York, in the Bronx, around the world. Can you quickly just let us know what are your future plans for the growth of Street Lab?
We will, most immediately, I think we really do want to expand the work we're doing with schools, and we want to work with more schools and double that work. We think it's got so much potential, and it can make such a difference. So many schools also lack, which I didn't really realize, but lack any kind of space, right? Any kind of outdoor space. So we'd love to do that. We think it can transform the city in a big way. We also work with neighborhood groups. We'd love to, if you have a vision, if you're someone out there who has a vision for your neighborhood, and you want to bring your neighbors together and have a space to do that, we want to work with you. So we're working with block associations, community development groups, business improvement districts. So we'd love to hear from more people and keep expanding the work. At the same time, I think we always want to be creating new ideas and bringing new resources to neighborhoods. So we're always on the lookout for ideas about things that can work across the city to make people's lives better, and to create physical amenities and resources for them in their neighborhoods in a quick way, right? That maybe point the way towards something that's more needed long term, but we can do it pretty quickly in a pop-up way. So we're always eager for more ideas.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us and really talking about this. This was a lot of fun, and I'm definitely excited to learn more. So thank you.
Thank you, Kibin. Okay.
If you would like to learn more about the various pop-up Street Lab does around New York, please go to their website at streetlab.org. Stay tuned. We have more for you right after this.